Okay, today we're going to talk about the distributive property some more. We talked about it last week. Our main focus today, we're going to be distributing a negative. Your learning target, you can use the distributive property to simplify numerical and algebraic expressions. We're focusing on algebraic expressions today, again, with a negative. I do just want to refresh your memory on what the distributive property told us. If you recall from Friday, the distributive property means to multiply. There's something sticking to the outside of parentheses, and you need to bring it to the inside. And in math, to bring the number from the outside to the inside of the parentheses, you have to distribute, which means multiply. So this actually turns into 5 times 2x plus, now I got to multiply the 5 to that last term, 5 times 4. 10x plus 20. And that's how our answers look when we simplify with the distributive property. I want to refresh again. Sometimes we didn't have algebra terms, sometimes we had numbers. 3 times 40 plus 6. So we'd go 3 times 40 plus, because there's a plus right there, and then we multiply the 3 by the last term, plus 3 times 6, which is 120 plus 18, following the order of operations, 138. One more refresher for the algebraic expression. If you had 4 times negative 2x minus 3. The first thing you always do is turn your minus to plus a negative. You have to do that today. There is no getting around that. And then you multiply the 4 by the first term. That would be negative 8x plus negative, or 4 times negative 3 is a negative 12. You'll see it looking like this. Negative 8x minus 12 is actually your final answer. What we do there, you take the plus and negative and you turn it back to subtraction when you find your right answer. Okay, so we'll go ahead and start our notes. I want you to make a star, and I want you to write turn minus into plus a negative. I'm going to say plus a neg. Hopefully you understand that means plus a negative. So that's the first thing you always have to do. You're going to see I'm going to do that first with all of these examples. And then you also have to remember that you need to multiply what's outside to everything inside. So turn minus into plus a negative. Okay, this first example, there's no minus sign, there's just negative numbers, so I don't need to turn anything into plus a negative. This would be negative 4 times negative 3x plus, because there's a plus right here, negative 4 times 4. And then you just follow the order of operations and you do the multiplying parts. That's positive 12x plus a negative 16. You see, negative 4, negative 3 is positive 12. And then we always rewrite plus a negative back to subtraction. So 12x plus a negative 16, you just turn it back to 12x minus 16. In your homework, if you leave it as plus a negative, I am going to be okay with that because my learning target for you is to make sure you know how to distribute. So it's equivalent to leave it as plus a negative, but I want you to get familiar that this way is always how it will be presented to you. Okay, the second example, we have negative 2 parentheses 6x minus 8. Here I do need to turn my minus into plus a negative, so I'm going to plus a negative 8, and now I'm going to go ahead and distribute. This is negative 2 times 6x plus negative 2 times negative 8. Notice the rainbow. Make sure you show your rainbow in your homework. And then negative 2 times 6 is negative 12x plus negative 2 times negative 8 is a positive 16. And that's how your answer would be, because you cannot connect them. They don't both have an x, so you can't combine them. Okay, the next one, negative 9 times 3x plus 2. So I'm going to distribute my negative 9 to distribute. Well, go ahead and put the rainbow. A lot of kids do that at first so their eyes know, hey, I need to do it to both of the terms inside the parenthesis. So I'm going to go negative 9 times 3x plus negative 9 times 2. And then I do the multiplying. Negative 9 and 3 is a negative 27x plus negative 9 times 2 is a negative 18. And here is where we can turn that back to a minus. Negative 27x minus 18. Remember, these two are equivalent. So if you get the first one and then you see the answer as the second one, it is the same thing. Okay, next example, negative 3 times x minus 4. We need to turn that minus into plus a negative, and then show your rainbows. Negative 3 times x plus negative 3 times negative 4. Then you do the multiply. Negative 3 times x is just negative 3x plus negative 3 times negative 4 is a positive 12. Remember, what we're keeping in mind today, if you multiply integers and if they are the same sign, it's positive. If they're different signs, it's negative. Okay, next one. I need a plus a negative 5 because there was a minus sign inside the parenthesis. Distribute. This is negative 1 times negative 2x plus negative 1 times negative 5. And then multiply. Negative 1 and negative 2 is a positive 2x plus negative 1 times negative 5 is a positive 5. And that's our final answer. Okay, the next one, I see I need a plus a negative 7. And then I'm going to distribute my negative 10. So it's negative 10 times negative x plus negative 10 times negative 7. Negative 10 times negative x is going to turn to a positive 10x plus negative 10 times negative 7 is going to turn to a positive 70. And that is my final expression. Okay, these last two can get a little confusing for some kids, but what you have to remember is there's really a negative 1 hanging out to the side. So let me repeat that so you're all with me here. I have negative parenthesis x minus 3. Well, what do you do with this negative on the outside? If you remember from previous lessons, negative or 1 is the shyest number of all. And if it can hide, it's going to hide. It's going to try to not be present. Here we have to make 1 come out. This is really a negative 1 times x minus 3. And then we plus a negative because we have to. And then we can distribute. So what you're really distributing is a negative 1. So it's negative 1 times x plus negative 1 times negative 3. Negative 1 times x is just negative 1x plus negative 1 times negative 3 turns into a positive 3. Now it's okay if you leave it like that, but you're making the 1 feel really stressed out. Again, 1 likes to hide if it can hide. So now that we're all done working with 1, we can let it hide away. So the final answer is actually negative x plus 3, because we let the 1 go back into hiding. Okay, and last example, we have negative parenthesis negative x plus 12. So again, what's really in front that we actually have to distribute is a 1. So we have to make the 1 come out so we can distribute it. And then it's negative 1 times negative x plus negative 1 times 12. Negative 1 times negative x is a positive 1x plus negative 1 times 12 is a negative 12. And then we got to clean this up a little bit. So when I say clean it up a little bit, I mean 1 is feeling really stressed out that it's out. So we let it hide again because it doesn't need to be there. It only needs to be there when it has to stay on the numerator when we simplified a couple units ago, or if you're having to distribute, then you like your 1 has to come out of hiding. Okay, anyways, so we let the 1 hide again, and then plus a negative, remember, you turn back to minus. So the final expression is x minus 12. Okay, I just want to summarize what we've done here. So there's kind of steps that you really need to keep in mind. The first thing we do, plus a negative. That's the first thing we do, plus a negative to everything. The second thing you can do is make the 1 come out if the 1 has to come out. So make 1 come out. And you only have to do that when there's a negative all by itself on the outside. And then the third thing you did is distribute. So that's when we multiply. And then lastly, you cleaned it up. Cleaning it up means letting the 1 hide again or turning plus a negative into a minus sign. So I'm going to just say clean it up. Cleaning it up one more time. To clean it up means you let the 1 hide. So let 1 hide if 1 is out. So you let 1 hide if it's out. And then if it looks like our last example, that plus a negative, to clean it up, you turn it back to subtraction. So turn to subtraction if plus a neg. Sometimes we didn't have to clean it up. Notice this example, as it's moving, we didn't have to clean that up. We didn't have to clean this example up. We did have to clean this one we cleaned up. We did not clean this one up. We didn't have to clean that up. We had to clean that first one up. We had to clean this one up. We cleaned it up because it was plus a negative and we had to turn it back to subtraction. And the second one that we did not have to clean up. So, one more summarizing. The first thing you should always do is turn everything to plus a negative. Second thing, make 1 come out if it has to. It doesn't always have to. It only has to if there's only a negative on the outside. Then you distribute and then you clean it up. So that's your learning target today.